Hello.
Hi everybody.
Hey, welcome.
Welcome
Good morning.
to our good morning, right? It's usually at noon. Welcome to our June edition of our Facebook Live class for our community of creative educators.
Yes.
Julia, tell us about what they need to know.
Sure. We do these free online workshops often. Thank you for being in the community. Please add your comments throughout. We will be having an amazing workshop that you can watch, and then I will be posting a link to a quiz where you can get your certificate, which will count for 1 free hour of professional development.
Yay, free stuff.
Hey, so I'm Anissa Dwiggins, the executive director.
And I'm Tina, the artistic director and foundress, Tina Sabuco.
And I'm Julia, the social media marketing maven.
And this is Arts Alive, and today our topic is leveraging the power of joy to effectively educate. And we are so thrilled today. We have a special guest, first time ever, special guest here with us, Hal Bowman. Woo! Yay! Yay!
Yay! Everybody out there, yay!
Hal is a family friend.
I need a booster seat.
You get the big chair.
They don't, my
You
feet
have
don't
the
touch.
high
Every
chair.
time I got in trouble at the principal's office, this is what it looked like. All right.
You're not in trouble with us, Hal.
Oh, yeah.
We would love to tell everybody what you do, but
Go ahead.
you can probably do that lots better.
I'm the worst at that.
You're the best.
So here's what I do: is I travel around the nation and I work with educators and kids and schools and districts, and man, the whole goal is to revolutionize the classroom and the campus culture in such a way that teachers are inspired and driven by what they want for their kids and why they're there, and we create these environments where kids love it and they love being part of the school family and they love learning, and that's it, man. I've been on a mission for a long time.
And
That's
prior
amazing.
to that,
Taught school in the classroom.
how many
man.
years?
Okay, this is
We only have an hour.
2 hours later.
So here's what I taught. I started in 91, January 91. Monday morning, January 3rd, 1991, and at 7:30. And I was a band director, and then I did that for a number of years at a tiny school. Then I was a band director at a school district, and a band director at another district, and then I taught biology. I sponsored a biology class. I don't want to insult any biology teachers. And then I taught some language arts, and then I taught some study skills, and then mentoring programs and leadership
Pals.
things. PALS, peer assistance and leadership. So all told, a couple of decades.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And
Oh,
we'll be
So you know what you're talking about. It's not like you're just coming into
I've been
going
in
around
there.
the
That's what's
nation.
the here's the cool thing is, man, I've taught so many, whether it's the sciences, the liberal arts, and the music, or the fine arts, but also just every kind of kid, from country, small town, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, all the way to, some really challenging, lower socioeconomic populations to super wealthy kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been
That's
around
and everybody in between.
all of them in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mostly older, like high school.
When you teach in a 1A school, you teach them all.
Oh yeah.
Crisscross applesauce, all the way up to the big, hairy, sweaty, tattooed, bearded, married ones. And,
Parents.
yeah, that's what they do in small town. If you're not all that related, you get married. And so I have my first class I ever taught was K,
Uh-huh.
in kinder PE.
Oh,
I had no
that's
idea
so
I never even seen a kindergartner. I didn't even know what that was.
You were never a kindergarten.
No, and he lined them up and said, "Go teach them PE." And I was like, "What?" And I brought. All I know is I brought the same number I left with back to the room, which was
Success.
That is a success.
That's
Yes.
success.
And so I taught a lot of middle school, but high school. My last 10 years was high school.
Wow.
But in the high school, the whole point of the class, we were going to elementary schools and mentoring and hanging out and trying to make a difference in the lives of our littles on the elementary campus.
That's amazing.
And we will also be telling you, if you are interested in going to any of Hal's
Yeah.
wonderful gigs, At the end, we will tell you all about that. So
Help us remember that, Julia.
yes.
We often forget
I'm
that.
gonna help you remember.
Yes.
All right. Well, I love that you talk about culture and changing lives, and that's what today is about. Harnessing the power of joy, leveraging the power of joy to effectively educate, because that's what we're all here to do. Parent, we talk, this community of creative educators that we have, we always say, you know, it's not just teachers.
Yeah.
Parents are out there, we're educating.
Caregivers.
We all
Everybody.
have a similar goal to effectively educate no matter what it is that we're doing. But using joy to do that, we all want that. Like, who doesn't want to feel the power of joy, the power of love? And I think in the classroom, or even at home, sometimes you forget it because you have an agenda. There's a, I gotta do this, I have to checklist all of these
I
things.
see joy on your lesson plans.
It is in ours, so.
Ain't no data-driven joy.
And see, that's a funny thing, because I think that there's
You ain't kid. Yeah.
data to prove that happy kids are more successful. You let them be who they are. So we feel, you know, coming from Arts
Happy
Alive, that
kids who feel like they are, that it is part of a family, that
Right.
the teacher has an open heart. It makes their heart open. It makes them want to learn.
Yeah.
yeah, that's our part of our philosophy. But you know, we want to debunk the myths, the myths,
The myths.
the myths of traditional education. Like, it doesn't have to be the way it always was, or the way that you were taught to teach, or the way you learned to teach.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times teachers aren't really taught to teach. They're taught their content and said, okay, go ahead. You just go out there.
And sometimes not even that. Like you said.
Yeah.
Be a PE teacher.
Right, man,
Be a
it's so
biology
true.
teacher.
But you know what? First of all, that whole idea of it's not just teachers, it's parents, community members, everybody, especially on a school campus. You know, I always say, you know, when it comes to school culture, like, it doesn't really matter what the job title is. Like, we all have a different job title, but we all have the same role, and that was to make a deep, profound difference in the life of that kid. So, like, what I really hope after I leave a school and after, you know, and we talk, like, I really want that nurse to believe completely, like, she's consumed with the belief that this nurse's office, that's her classroom. And, like, I want the school secretary to know that you don't have, like, all these kids, these are your kids, and when they come through that door into the front office, that's your classroom. And I want the custodian. I've been in schools where the custodian won Teacher of the Year. Like, he really believes that, you know, in that, when they have 6 minutes to change classes in a giant junior high, those are his kids. This is my classroom. I've got 6 minutes to make a difference in the lives of these kids. It's power, and when everybody gets on that same page, man, that's when magical moments truly happen. And you're right about your methods of you know, of joy, like that, like how kids feel every time. How that kid feels determines how they're going to act, behave, and perform academically, interpersonally, socially, emotionally, in every way. That determines everything. And what the cool part is, man, like, we can set that emotion up. We can set that emotional state up for a kid if we're intentional and we know what we're doing.
Absolutely. Part of our philosophy is embracing the spirit of the child. And when we go into a classroom, we are the rock stars. We walk in and they just start screaming, Arts Alive is here! Because they know that no matter what happens, when they come with us, they can be themselves.
Yeah.
They will be shown love. And it's just a joyful experience. Whatever our lesson plan is, whatever theme it is, whatever our agenda it is, we're not on that agenda. We're on for them.
Yeah.
It's
so true.
It's,
Well, here's what you guys are great at. I don't know if you ever think about it and really analyze the stuff like I
Tell us
do.
what we're great at.
we are listening.
And, well, here's what I think you guys are great at, are really satisfying those basic human needs that kids have. And I think it's scripted because you guys are, like, there's such deep research behind your themes and your classes. But I just think you're just naturally, but it might be natural, but it also might be, like, intentionally conscious of it. Like, I want, like, first of all, the kids have to feel a sense of consistency, right? They have to know what's going to happen. But here's the crazy part. At the same time, the flip side of that They need some spontaneous, like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I know it's going to be great. I know you have to be here on time. I know where this is going to take place. We're going to start this way. But at the same time, there's something, there has to be some unexpected event that they can't wait for, whatever that is. And also, like, they feel, in your classes, those kids feel a sense of significance, that they matter. Like today is a better day and a unique day because you're here with us today. And then that feeling, a sense of connection. Don't you cry. There's that sense of connection that they are a part of something bigger than themselves. Like, and that's like that human, there's a human need for like that tribal thing, man, where like I'm a part of a family and there's a synergistic effect of all these people in this room that there's no way this emotion could have happened without all of us together today. Yeah. And when they satisfy all those needs, that's when magical educational moments happen.
Yeah, it's amazing. I feel like that all the time, every class.
And I like that you mentioned about the ritual that we bring, the consistency, yet then it's like, oh, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
Like, I know there's going to be bubbles, but are they going to be, are they going to be stars? Are we going to be under the sea? Are they going to be bubble people?
Right.
Just a simple.
Man, the consistency is a weird thing because kids deeply want that, but they don't know that, and they try to act like they don't want that. They think they don't want the rules and procedures and all, but they desperately need that. But what's crazy is they will own that and buy into it, knowing crazy time's coming. I don't know what it is. Last week was bubbles. I see a big bag of something. Are there streamers in there? Do you think we're going to get those out? So that's why they're going to buy into that ritual of just starting off the same way so they can get to that over there.
We've learned to not always take everything out of the magic suitcase because if they see it and we don't use it for whatever reason, they're like, why didn't you use those scarves today?
Right.
Oh, we didn't get to that part.
That suitcase is bigger than it was last week. There's no telling what's in there.
They want to crawl into the suitcase and just live there.
Yeah.
But it is true. I mean, part of Arts Alive is we've created the culture within every single one of our teachers to speak our language, to take the joy that we have in every single lesson plan out there into the classroom, where it doesn't matter if it's me, Tina, Wendy, any one of our teachers. If a different person were to walk in there, like say, somebody has an appointment, you've got a sub, and they're like, you look different, but there's that aura of Arts Alive, and they know it just, there's never that.
You have the suitcase, you have the shirt on.
Right. There's no like, we're going to eat the substitute alive. They absolutely 100% know what to expect.
Man, I always
they
said,
think we're family. They think we're moms and sisters.
The substitute thing, man, I always said, like, that's how you know how the strength and the solidness of the foundation of your classroom culture is based on what happens when the substitute's there. Because I can tell you this, man, like when I would, go to the doctor or whatever, and I'll come back and there'd be this, he was rude, and they gave me fake names. It's like, man, have you guys been faking it? Like, I thought we had something here. Like, what are we doing? Like, so you just pretend that we're a family when I'm here, but when I'm not, the whole thing falls over. Like it hurts. This sub, what happens when that sub is there really tells a lot. But here's what's cool, like especially talking about joy, like we can talk about that on an individual teacher basis, what I can do for my classroom. But the truth is, if that feeling doesn't permeate through the whole school and the whole campus at some point, you'll wear down. Like the reason it works here is because that's part of the culture of the company. That's part of the culture of the whole organization. So it's really easy for you or Wendy or Julie, whoever, to keep that with them wherever they go, because that's part of what we do together. But when it's just you on campus and that's not a part of the culture of the whole school and the leadership team, it's really hard. So
we can tell when I think we were talking when we were on your show.
Yeah.
About walking into a school and feeling it. I was in a school yesterday, MCC, little plug, Montessori Children's Cottage. We have a lot of Montessori.
Over here on TC Jessica, very close to us.
And I feel it when I go in there. It's just everybody is happy, and they were handing out certificates at the end of the day, and I really wanted to go over and find out what each kid was getting, and just the things that I see on the wall and how the kids are. And the other day they had a little pot-bellied pig out on the the playground, and I'm like, I want to go here. I want to have a kid and have them go here.
Yeah.
That, you know, those kind of schools where, I mean, I always think that it's like, where did if I had a kid, where would they be going? Just that joy that, you know, it comes back to the joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question over here.
Yes.
Yes.
What are some of the most harmful myths of traditional education that you see functioning in classrooms, and what are the solutions to those?
Here comes the angry mom.
It's the rules and discipline, and I do these rules and discipline because Arts Alive has rules, and the kids know what those rules are. But we've created them out of exploring what kids naturally want to do. Whereas you get in a traditional classroom setting, and the rules are no, don't, no, don't.
Sure.
And discipline is punishment. Instead of, like we've done a class on this before, it's creating the model from yourself. And like you're saying, higher up within the school, that creates that culture of joy or the positive embracing acceptance, because that's what kids are gonna make mistakes.
Yep.
And if you're constantly pointing out, you're doing it wrong, hey, who knows how to multiply? You don't. And so it's just the negative rules discipline.
Did you just raise your hand?
I did. Because I wanted. It's that asking the question, and I'm answering the question you're talking about, Julia, about tradition. Asking the question before giving the information. Who knows how to multiply? Who knows what an octopus is? You know, anything. Who knows what? It's like, why do you care? Who knows what? Teach them first. And then they know, and
it's like,
it's
what?
just it is my biggest pet peeve, and I've also learned in life even though we talk about it in our culture here in Arts Alive, it's like, and then why do I do it? You know, to an adult, asking a question or that keeping it open-ended. If I know that's a whole different thing, but you know, using open-ended questions more than needing a direct answer to something, and also just what I'm saying, you know, teach before you quiz them about something.
Yeah, you know, for me, I've seen the biggest shift and the most exciting shift that's happening for me that I see across the nation in schools. And I think it has a lot to do with leadership. I mean, there's so many great school leaders going in for years. I just don't think there was a focus on great leadership as there was in just management and administrative effectiveness, rather than really being a school leader. And now they're seeing, and I think it has to do with social media. Like, there's so many places where principals can go and school directors can go and be a part of a community and learn from each other and see what other people are doing and how effective that is. For me, I see that trickling down into the classroom, and now there's this transformation happening from that rules-based classroom that's still out there, it's for sure, I still see it everywhere, to more of, you know, rather than classroom management, you know, shifting over to a classroom leadership, and instead of rules and policies and procedures, which are still necessary, but really focusing more on the classroom core values. And like you said, like talking about that with the kids every day. And setting that kid, like, you know, really asking the question and letting them know, hey man, we're creating a family in here. Let's talk about that. Like, what kind of family? If you can create any family, what would happen? What would that look like? And let those kids create. Now, they're not going to know, you know, what they don't have the depth and the breadth of vocabulary, but they'll have the definition. And then, man, I want people to mess with me and touch my stuff. Wait, I think what you're saying is you want to be respected. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You know, and so then we help them with the vocabulary they don't have the command of yet, and then we create that environment that those kids ask for that way. When kids mess
They've
up,
created the rules
and
themselves,
they mess up, and they're going to mess up.
The
We can
laws
say,
of the classroom.
hey man, isn't this the family that you said you wanted to have, where we respect each other? Now the rule, I still have the procedures posted. It still says, you know, please don't speak when other people are speaking. But the reason it makes sense and it's going to happen is because we established a place where we love each other and respect one another. And because, like, do kids need consequences? Like, yeah, but at the same time, I think it's important to remember that it's not really about, the kids don't remember the consequence. They're going to remember the conversation.
Right.
So when a kid is 35 and he has a child of his own, like, I want in the kid's subconscious to remember that what made a difference in his life wasn't the penalty and wasn't the consequence, it was the conversation that he had with that teacher in the hallway or privately after class. Because, you know, man, we can punish just about any kid into compliance, like temporarily.
Right.
But we can't punish a kid into commitment, like that commitment between a learner and an educator. It's just like, it just doesn't happen. But where it does happen is a classroom family built on a core set of agreed upon values that we all created together.
Well, I like that you're using the word conversation, because what keeps coming into my mind too is when you are talking to a student and saying whatever it is you're saying, always include the why, which is the conversation, which gets you talking about the reason that this is happening is because of this, not just time out.
Or the because I said so mentality.
Right, because I'm the teacher, because I'm the mommy.
Yeah.
Right.
Then, by the way, like I still, you know, after 15 years, I would still, because I said so, that's why. But then, you know what, but it's okay, because I would say, all right, man, all right, dude, all right, let's talk about this. Here's what just happened. You know, I got out of control, I let you become in charge of my emotions, and you were very effective. Thank you for your efforts. But I want to take charge of my emotions because just own it in front of the kids and they get it. It's fine.
Well, that's huge. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Being able to own it.
Yeah, they
To apologize if you blow up. As a parent, I do it all the time.
When you blow up.
Yes. It's once in a million years now. But, you know, just owning that and being a team.
Yeah.
The whole family culture, I think that is one of those traditional methods that I'm the teacher, you do what I say, you sit down, you be quiet, and just comply.
Yeah.
Creating the family culture can change that.
I want to catch up, but here's why it's so
remember
effective.
what I was going to say.
But you won't, but act like you
I'm
do.
going to.
Here's what, especially if a teacher, this is part of what I do, is really able to connect and articulate with why they're there. Because when they can do that and really dig down deep into the deepest why that they're there for their kids, then they can talk about that in front of their kids, and then it makes everything okay. Because kids will understand the reason you got emotional and the reason you screamed is because you love them so much and you care so deeply. And being able to articulate that and admit that and be open about it, it makes everything okay.
My why that I wanted to talk about was when you are explaining the why, there might be an aha moment, and it's like, well, there isn't really a reason. For instance, just talking about walking down the hall, why are we in a straight line? When the hall is so humongous, we're just getting from point A to point B. So if you're going to say, no, in a straight line, and then why, and you can't answer that, then why are you in a straight line? Why aren't you just going from point A to point B? That's just a simple, or why aren't they able to talk during lunchtime? You know? That kind of thing. But it'll help you question yourself.
Yeah.
Well, there isn't a reason, so let's
Now,
throw that rule out the window.
He became a principal, and his first day as a principal, he sat down with his entire faculty when they showed up in August, and they went through. They started with, "Oh, what time do the kids get here?" And they were supposed to start rolling at about 7:15. Okay, where did they come in? Back here. Okay, why? And he started with everything throughout the day.
Wow.
Well, why do we do that? Let's really get into that. Is that the best place? Is it
because we've always done it that way?
Is it because, is it the
Right.
only possibility? Do they all have to line up like that? Is there other doors the kids could come in? You know, are they coming in through which door? Why those doors? Is anybody greeting them? Why? And what they
Or why not?
realized that a lot was, because it's what we do, and we've always done, and two, because it was most convenient for us, rather than is it best for them. And I think when you look at every little step of the way, the process of school, it's an interesting conversation.
Rebecca has a great comment. She says, discipline is what we cultivate in children, not what we do to them. That was nice.
Yeah. Thank you, Rebecca.
Did everybody hear that? Thank you,
Discipline
Rebecca.
Rebecca, she's awesome.
I'm guessing it's Rebecca Weiner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rebecca, for being with us
We
today.
love Rebecca.
Yeah.
What
I'm doing discipline to you.
yeah.
So let's just say that again. So she said,
Discipline is what we cultivate in children,
Yeah.
not what we do to them.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I
Yeah.
love that a lot of this conversation is around just the culture, and you know, we're talking about bringing joy into the classroom and like starting with yourself. Do you find joy in it? Why are you teaching? Why are you in that classroom? If you're not finding that spark, that piece of joy, maybe that's,
Yeah.
you know, maybe there's time for a shift. We've had this conversation that, you know, some people need to find their right age group, their right school, their right culture to find the joy in what it was. You know, I went into junior high and I thought that was
You
my
know,
path.
as a teacher.
As a teacher, I was going to teach a junior high art class, and it wasn't for me. And, you know, I meet Tina, and I have been able to find my joy. So part of the process of how do you create, am I moving my hands?
No, I was petting you and thanking you.
Finding that piece of you, like how can you do this?
Yeah.
How can one person, we're talking about the big scope of, you've seen it, you go out there and change the culture of an entire school, but how does that one person, how do you
Yeah.
start with that? It's what makes you happy. I think that's
Yeah.
why are you doing it?
You know, here's what's interesting. In order for, man, that's the whole goal of my work with the campus. When I'm there on a school day, my whole goal is I want to shift culture in such a way everyone can feel it in one day. That's the goal. Like I give my
That's
so
huge.
It takes like 10 hours.
10 hours.
Yeah, so like I'm gonna show up like at 6:30. I'm probably leave like at 4:30 or something like that, or at least 6 and 4. So in my mind, I've got 10 hours where I can work with personalities and influential members of this school family, and how can we do this in such a way we can feel it at the end of the day? Because if they can feel it, that creates the momentum, and there's like that tipping point, and things kind of happen from there. But individually, this is the most powerful thing. The way it happens, like the secret behind the whole thing, is when every adult on that campus believes that culture, school culture, is my responsibility. It is solely up to me. It changes everything. Because it's true. Because one personality can crush it. One personality can change an entire case. So it really is true. It's completely up to me. Now here's the powerful part, man. When, as far as like fuel for joy and happiness and having that feeling in your classroom, for me, it really begins with helping teachers identify what they really want for their kids. Like as a result of these kids spending their lives with this teacher, who by the way, they'll spend more time with this teacher than their parent.
Right.
As far as direct interaction and eye contact.
Eye contact.
Yeah, like what do we want for my kids? For these are the kids that for the rest of their lives will be a part of my life, I'll be a part of their life. If I could have anything for them as a result of spending our time together in this classroom, what would it be? And you know what? I've yet to talk to a math teacher that said anything about the Pythagorean theorem. You know what? I mean, there's something deep within every teacher, that the ones that are still in the classroom and are still there. They're not part of the 50% that we lost, because 50% burn out over 5 years. We lose 50% of teachers.
Wow.
The ones that are still there, when they can identify what they want for their kids, and like the question is like, what do you want your kid talking about? I have my 35th high school reunion coming up. At the 35th high school reunion, when the kids are sitting around, sipping punch, down at the Marriott, the banquet room, what do you want that conversation? Because they're going to talk about their teachers. That's what they do. Like, what do you want that conversations to be when they talk about your class? If they could be like one thing that they learned for spending their lives with you that school year, what do you want that to be? And when teachers identify that, because that gives them meaning and passion, and it takes the teaching process away from the grind. Like if all their focus is on is the lesson plan and these essential knowledge and skills that I get, once they get away from that and they start using that as the vehicle to deliver what they want for those kids, that's when the passion happens, and that's when the magic and the joy comes into the classroom.
Do you find when you're out of school that collectively they have a similar mission in the classroom, or every teacher, like all 100, have a completely different vision for what they want to see in the
Most
classroom?
times it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it could
it's
be
personal.
It really is, yeah, and it's personal based on their life and their experience. So, it like complete opposite ends of the spectrum. It could be there was a teacher that was there for me, and I want to be that for somebody. I'm paying that forward, man. I know what that felt like to have that teacher make a difference in my life, and that's who I want to be for my students. I want them to have a new identity, and I want to be the one that helps them, to empowers them to uncover who they really are. Like I want, and then like in the middle, is there some teacher I'm like they're addicted to that light bulb moment. You know, they love it when the kid gets it. I'm like, I want to be the one who flips the light on for whatever that is, and helps that kid identify their passion, whatever that is. They don't even care. And I'm telling you, there are teachers out there that are there because no one was there for them. They didn't have that teacher. They were miserable in school. No one flipped the light bulb on. No one talked about their passion, and they don't want that to happen for any of their kids, and that's why they're there. So it is 100 different responses.
Wow.
Well, as it should be. Because how amazing is that? If a kid has 7 teachers in a day that went to 8th grade or in high school, and each one is really clear about what they want for their kids and why they're there, man, that's a whole lot.
Oh yeah, I'm sitting, like, I know exactly what it is for me.
What is it?
Because I'm teaching Arts Alive. I don't have a classroom that I'm in, all of us here. This is the model of Arts Alive. We go in once a week for half an hour.
Yeah, in fact, let's talk about this. So give me the name of one of your themes that you do. So it's an Arts Alive class, what a theme might be?
Mermaid Mania.
When these kids are 40, do you really want to take kids going, mermaids, baby, I'm all about the mermaids? Not really. But it might be, like, I want this kid to, I feel what it's like to be passionate and involved in something that they love and a creative energy and what happens as, like, that might be the what for that particular class. But the Mermaid Mania is the tool to deliver that.
The vehicle.
It's the vehicle, yeah.
And we talk about that all the time. I mean, we have, 50 different themes. It's not that that's what we're teaching. That's what we're teaching.
We are
through.
here to educate about mermaids.
We want everybody to know about the mermaid. We're teaching through that. And so, yes, it's Mermaid Mania, but during that time, it's learning how to move through space and feel great about your body no matter what kind of body you have. And if you're a boy or a girl or whatever, and you're just loving moving, period. I mean, that's
a sense of possibility as well.
And I do this because that's what I want them to feel. I just, feeling happy.
So that's
moving.
your thing. Like for me, when I'm out there, like I know that that's your feeling of why you do what you do. Mm-hmm. For me, it's like I want to find that one kid.
Yeah.
I want that one kid. It's usually a boy that is always singled out as the bad kid. Even 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one in every classroom that there's this self-fulfilling prophecy. Even the other kids are telling me, "Oh, he's the bad one."
Yeah, he's the bad one.
No. And I connect with that child, and it's just my mission.
Now I hear that. Here's the crazy part. Whether I'm in an elementary school and we're talking about, I don't know, first graders. It could be in a junior high, and I hear that he's so lazy. Ugh. He is so rude. That kid, and I'm thinking to myself, he's not anything.
Right.
You know what he is? He's 7. That's all he is. Like he's nothing. Like in fact, based on my experience, we're not going to know who he is until he's mid-40s. Then we'll have an idea.
Oh God.
But right now, for our young ladies into our early 30s, but boys about mid-40s. Then we can talk about who he is. But he's not that. He's just a child. He's like in the incubator where there's this part of the metamorphosis that's happening right now. That's it.
Yeah.
You asked Anissa a question earlier about
The what? We were talking about we did.
What?
I don't remember, but I don't think it was answered. But about what she was in it for. Mm-hmm. But I know that you just answered that. But yeah.
Well, typically my style is I'll answer a question and cut it off. And answer for
it. Well, this is a great lead into talking about vaccinations. That's what we're really here for today. You said something to me a couple weeks ago about how we're out there doing all of this, creating success, putting joy in the classroom, and we're essentially vaccinating against losing joy.
Yeah.
We have these early childhood, that's our main population. The oldest we get is, about 2nd grade. We have some kids that are a little bit older, but we're vaccinating them so that when they go out into these elementary schools, that they have this sense of like, hold on a second. It doesn't always have to be this way. I know what joy feels like.
Sure.
And I know I can find that.
Talk a little bit about Marley, your daughter.
She, I wanted her to be in on this conversation day, but she's out of town. She has this expectation, no matter what classroom
Eighth
she
grade,
goes
going
in,
into
going
high
into
school.
ninth, that every teacher's going to be amazing. And if they're not, she figures out how to connect with them. She's talking to her stepsister about, oh yeah, I always sit at the front of the class. I've always got my hand up, and Ella looks at me, why would you do that?
Yeah.
She's like, why wouldn't I? I want to know. And so Marley is like this, and if for some reason some teacher's not giving her what she needs, she's like this. Hey, what's going on? And she finds out what they're interested in. It's just amazing. But she's been taking Arts Alive since she was in the womb.
Yeah.
And she lives this culture. And you know, I don't know how many times she's like, oh, this teacher. I'm like, well, you're one, and we have the conversation at home. You're one of 30 kids in that room, or 25 kids out of the 200 that she teaches. You know,
Yeah.
think about where that teacher is. You don't know what happened to them that day,
Such
that
a
morning.
great
Yeah, it's,
philosophy.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to
Advice.
have that. I can see the result of years of Arts Alive and having the joy and just instilled within
and
her.
not the fear of asking a question and being told you're wrong
Right.
about it. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about why I'm wrong, or
Right,
you know, I
right.
mean, not in Arts Alive. There's not a lot of wrong, but I know that 2 + 2 is 4, and so there needs to be a right. But just the risk taking. I mean, I think
Yes.
that there's a lot of risk teaching a child that risk taking is not a scary thing, and that it's going to make them so much more successful
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah, that's the challenge of a classroom teacher right now, is really harnessing that and believing in it and giving opportunities for kids to live. Because really, if you think back when this whole school thing started, it was created to supplement the education that was happening in the house. That's what like if you look at with the school definition,
school,
that's what
right.
it is. But it was like a little pill, a little supplement on the side for what's happening in the home. So that's not happening anymore. But in addition to that, as we're coming through it was to create great employees. And what great employees do is they do what they're told and they don't make mistakes. And they show up on time and they sit where they're supposed to sit. And so like a lot of that, now, unfortunately, we just don't live in that world anymore. So that's why I'm so excited that so many teachers are coming from a generation that it's not even their reality.
Yeah.
And so rather than, your job as a student is to come to my class and be on time and don't make mistakes, do what you're told. There's so many teachers out there that have shifted that whole thing where what I see are them convincing their kid, your job is to come here and to contribute to this family. It's not what you can take away, it's what can you bring. Like, because that way, like when you're having a bad day, well, you got 29 others contributing to you, and it's okay when somebody has a bad day.
Well, just what you said about they're being taught to do this so that it'll make them better employees.
Yeah.
Why don't we teach them how to be bosses?
Yeah. Here's the thing. It's just a different skill set between employee and employer. It takes the same amount of time and effort. It's just a different conversation. Yeah, but so when I see those kids that are willing to take the risk and they don't really care when they get things wrong, and I know it sounds crazy, but I'm thinking that's an employer. Because if you think about who those entrepreneurs are, they're the risk takers. Your rules are fine for you. And then you should probably
familiar.
you should follow your rules if they work for
Yeah.
you. But for me, so like I'm not talking about laws, I'm talking about rules. And so like I get that when I see that kid, and I can tell you, like, just looking back when some of the most successful kids professionally, and by success I'm not talking like somewhat financially, but also just they're passionate and loving what they do. Those are those kids that, man, that whole employee thing doesn't work for me. They're just not wired that way. and they were penalized for that in high school, and now they're like living that dream because of that.
Yeah, if the children we're raising are beaten into compliance, we lose that potential for the leadership. But
Sure.
it's interesting. I wrote down risk-taking, but for the teachers out there.
Yeah.
Because if you can take a risk to allow an open conversation in the classroom and let go of the agenda and find what you're there for, that passion, it allows them to, like, you're mirroring that, you know, I'm available to take a risk.
Sure.
You can take a risk. If there's a mistake made, let's figure it out. Let's just finding that path and making it a team effort.
I have a question for you, Hal. In all over the country, all the teachers thousands and thousands of teachers you've taught, do you find that you have conversations with teachers about they don't want to take the risk of losing control, which is why they don't take that next step?
I would say a few years ago, yeah. But really, I'm telling you, the shift the momentum's happening. The ball is rolling downhill now, and because it's so apparent and so obvious and so effective, where and if you even look at the data, part of that, there's that teacher next door. They always seem to be loud and they're up and moving around, but they're crushing it on standardized testing and of course exams and things like that. Where that whole, because I said, so these are my rules and you're in my class, so they apply to you, and that whole style just isn't as effective for the brain of the kid in this generation.
I was just going to say this generation.
It's just a different kid.
Yeah.
That's so exciting to hear.
It's happening.
Yeah.
And so here's like for you, like be the risk. That's what I always say. Like for a teacher, like a kid, and they have to see it if they're going to be it. I got to show it if I'm going to grow it in that kid.
Yeah.
So if I teach reading, I really need to be walking around with the book everywhere I go, talking about the magic. Oh, you're not going to believe what's happening. Oh my God, you're not going to believe what I read last night. I couldn't even sleep. Like they have to see what that looks like. You have to show
that's
the
great.
excited reader so we can grow an excited reader. But it's the same thing, like that risk taking, like that, like in any discipline, math. That's what math is all about. Like you gotta be a little bit willing to have some danger in your life to do some math, man. You don't know how to do this. Like that's why I got a job, And so for a kid to see what that looks like, and so I always talk to teachers about what are you learning in your life and what are you talking about in front of your kids? It could be anything. Learning another language. I learned one time I learned how to juggle because I wanted to talk about what I still can't do it.
Kids love knowing that
That's the thing.
we're normal people, like we're human.
Yeah, and they can see us
Yeah.
fail at it and keep going.
Yeah.
And laugh about it and keep being passionate and keep trying.
I love that. It's so inspiring to hear these things because we're at a lot of early childhood centers, and some of them have it, the culture, some of them don't, and everybody's doing their best
Sure.
to get better, and we feel it too. And social media is a huge part of it, I think. And one of the things that I put
Which
down
is why we're here today.
how can you make these things happen? It is using your tribe. And maybe your tribe isn't at your school yet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is that online connection. There's so many resources out there now that I don't know how to be creative in the classroom. How can I make that risk happen? How can I get out of my box? All you have to do is Google it, right?
Yeah.
How can I be creative for second grade math? And boom, you've got a million ideas.
Yeah, I mean,
flooding at you.
there's a Facebook group just for second grade math that has 30,000 teachers.
Yeah.
Talking about second grade
It's
math.
incredible. Like when I first started teaching, there was nothing like
Yeah.
that.
No.
No.
You heard about some lady at another school, but you could go over there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I know.
It's really
I love,
incredible.
I love
But here it is,
now.
man. Like
I love
really,
now. I love
even in your school, in your classroom, it really is connect. There's people like you, but I don't think we have conversations that inspired those kind of connections. Because oftentimes, our conversations at lunch are like, oh, can you believe? Oh, our principal's so stupid. And because you have to process. This is such a hard job emotionally. Like you have to process. And I get it, man. I totally understand it. But at the same time, there has to be some conversation about what's great and what's inspiring. Because in those conversations, that's where we realize these people are just like me. and collectively, there's so many simple little things. All right, I'm gonna give you a good example because I recently saw it and I was so inspired. So when I visit schools, I give them actionable things that they can do. And sometimes when I say those things, they look disappointed because they're so simple. But I'm like, it's fun and it works, man. Like, remember when teaching is fun? That's what we're doing. And so one of the things we do is at a predetermined time, at this particular school, 4 teachers wanted to connect. I said, here's what you're going to do. Right after second period, you say goodbye to your kids. Before your third period kid come, you guys meet in the hallway for 60 seconds. You have 15 seconds each to talk about a success that you're experiencing that day. Excited, loud and proud in the middle of the hallway, and they come out of their rooms at that time and they meet and they take 15 seconds. They talk about so-and-so in my classroom killed it today. The first time they got a 90 on the spelling test, and they go and they go and they go and they high-five and they go back to the class. That one little thing alone
That's amazing.
changes everything.
It's energizing.
It's finding the joy.
Yeah.
Like it makes you think instead of walking away
I want to
like
do that.
the 10 kids that didn't make what they should have on the test.
Right. And
The
by the
one-
way, there's a hallway full of kids watching this, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. It's those little things that are just absolutely powerful.
I love
That's
that.
refreshing. So many things, like we could keep going for hours and hours about this, but one of the things I have down, everybody teaches different age. Like you might have different kids at home that are different ages, and we've talked a little bit about there's so much data out there, but if you're finding a struggle like how to connect with this kid, like do your research on whatever age
Child
it is,
development.
your development of the child. And it's not just early childhood. You've got a 14-year-old, you should know what their bodies are going through, what their brain, what they're mentally, physically capable of, because are they teaching that when you go get your teaching certificate?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're going to go 1 through K through 12.
Yeah.
What about the child development? What do these kids, what do the 4-year-olds need? Like, the kindergartners sit in your desk all day? Second graders sit in your desk all day? The successful classes that I see, everybody's moving around. I'll walk down the hallway and it's like a little beehive inside.
Yeah.
And it's the happiest class that you see. You walk down to the next one and they're all sitting there like zombies, and we know that if you sit there for 20 minutes, you want to go take a nap.
Your brain
It's
goes into
over.
resting rate, and
Yeah.
you're
Well,
thinking
when
about
I
lunch.
see that, it's not just little ones, man. Even the older kids, even teens, the tweens. To see, and like you mentioned, boys earlier. To see a 12-year-old boy sitting in the desk. For a lot of kids, like for my boy, the one I made, he would have had to been beat down emotionally to get him to sit there for 48 minutes and look straight ahead and not talk. I can't even imagine what would have had to happen for him to do that. But it happens everywhere, unfortunately, because we still, subscribe to that old management style.
Yeah, that's that traditional. I have the same child, like not the exact same child,
Right.
Similar
different
children.
age, very similar. I had to have a meeting with the principal. All of it, like Stephen got into one of those classrooms where he had to stay in a seat in second grade.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's miserable, crying every day, doesn't want to go to school, hates school now.
Sure.
And luckily, the culture of his school was one that we don't want that for him.
Sure.
That one kid. And so they found the teacher that fit for him. That was the classroom that was a beehive.
Mm-hmm.
That nobody had to sit down. That was not a requirement within it. And that gave him that moment
Can
to
you
thrive.
give?
Hey, let me tell you real quick before you do this, is because I want to shout out Julie. Can you look up this guy's name? I can't. I've got too much on my mind right now. I can't think of his name. He has a company called Stand Up Our Kids, and what he created is a desk that he can pull and
That's what
stand
we
up.
need.
And so a lot of teachers, what they do is just they have the perimeter of their room and the sides lined up. And so he has Stand Up Our Kids, and these desks are for stand-up kids. And a lot of kids function stand-up, and they can sit down when they need to
Stephen eats
sit.
dinner standing up.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
stand-up kid, right?
Yeah.
And for a lot of our kids, just a kinesthetic kid, like,
Right.
and those are the ones we lose.
Derek Lopez.
Derek Lopez!
Yay!
Yeah, this dude is changing things with his Stand Up Our Kids, and you can follow him on Twitter. He's a great guy. I've talked to him on the phone, and like that, just that one tiny thing.
It's
to the
huge.
desk. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. What does that classroom look like in Stephen's classroom? So if you can give teachers an idea out there, what does the classroom look like?
It looks like every other classroom as far as desk setup. This was the chairs are pull-away chairs. They're not connected, but if you didn't have the children or the teacher in there, they're all set up the same. There's clusters. There's like 4 desks here, 4 desks there, 4, 4, 4. But the difference from here to here, these guys are kind of like sitting and, you know, they have their partitions up or listening or looking at the board. Where these guys, if you want to be sitting, you can sit. You
On the
can-
floor?
Yeah. Oh, there's
Anywhere.
rugs. Everybody's walking around. You don't have to raise your hand to go to the pencil sharpener, to go get a drink of water. She lets them have snacks at their table. And every single one of them would, like,
Yeah.
you know, there's the
what
spirit
you would
of the
naturally
child. It's the natural, like, that's how this age group
Yeah.
needs to operate to be successful.
Right.
It's knowing what your age group that you're teaching is physically and mentally capable of.
You know what I'm picturing? Like Apple or any of the big Google, all the big companies. Whenever I've not actually been there, but when you see them depicted, what it looks like. You know, there's stand-up desks. There's people
Oh,
playing
yeah.
ball. There's pool over here. There's snack. You know, everybody is functioning at a very high level, doing whatever it is they do, and they're happy and they're playing.
Sure.
Yay, playing! And this is what you keep talking about. The culture is shifting. The culture is different than it was. I just want to go into more classrooms now, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we're, as we keep saying, we're in the early
Classrooms,
childhood, but I want to
entire
visit.
schools
Yes.
have shifted, you know,
Yeah.
and it really comes down to those great school leaders out there. What it is, it's that they feel like they have been given permission finally because the research is done, it's data proven. There's evidence across the country where it's happened in other schools, and now they can use that and empower their teachers and give their teachers the permission that they've always wanted to be that teacher that's doing those things in those classrooms. This started conversation just a few minutes ago because you were talking about connecting with kids, and I thought of something that I wanted to say is those kids are really hard to connect with, and what I think it's really important to remember, just the effort alone, it's working. Like, I can't tell you how many kids at this point in my life that have come back and said, you know, like I'll see them in an airport or the Walmart or downtown Houston. I saw Bowman, and I'm like, "What's up, bro?" And I'm trying to figure out because he's got a beard, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you know, but I can't tell you how many kids that have said, "Man, that was so much fun," and man, it really mattered. And I'm like, "Dude, you weren't even awake." No, man, no, dude, you hated it. No, I didn't. Yes, you told me you hated it. He goes, "No, man, I loved it," and like. I think we get tricked, but especially by our most challenging personalities, that it's working. Just the effort, man, it's absolutely working. And any teacher's been around long enough, they know, like, if you can identify these kids that they'll come back in junior high when you have them in elementary, or they'll come back when they're in high school and they have that day where they're exempt from a final, so they go visit the elementary school. Yeah, those days, and they come back and they'll talk about it, and teachers will always say, you know what, I didn't think the kid, I just didn't know. It's working.
Yeah, you're planting seeds, and
Yeah.
even if you don't see it grow,
Right.
it just might take a little bit
And like
longer.
Marley, your kid in the front row,
Yeah.
of course that teacher gets in the moment recognition when they say, "Oh, thank you so much, you're awesome today."
Yeah.
But the kid that is the most challenging kid is never going to do that. But for some reason we think maybe they might. This year, maybe in a decade,
Yeah.
they're feeling it and they're thinking it, but they're just not going to communicate it until they're ready, which is going to be years from now. So it's working, man.
Yeah. It's inspiring. It's getting close to the time where we need to wrap things up. So I know.
You get rules? What about this whole rules thing? You know?
The man's coming down on me. No,
All right, let me tell you a quick story. And I just thought of this. Do you get that? I had a kid who had a real challenging PAL. So we were at PALs, our high school kids, our seniors, our PALies. I want to say, I'm picturing the kid probably third-ish grade. And it could have been a third grade age kid in the first grade. I don't remember. So the pal, and is a young man who was a pal and trying to connect with this boy, and just the kid wouldn't, just nothing, and he'd always come to me. I keep trying, give him ideas, and then I don't know if I forgot about it or just he didn't keep the older kid quit coming to ask questions, and so I just quit thinking about it, and I finally checked in with him. Said, "Hey man, how's it going with your kid?" "Oh man, it's been great. You guys having a good conversation?" "No, we don't talk." But he goes, "Look," and and what they've been doing is every week he got a spiral notebook and they pass it back and forth, and this kid would write him like a 2-sentence note every day of the week that they didn't see each other, and he'd pass it back, and then he'd have it the next week, and he'd write him a note every day he's in class, and so they just pass it back and forth. Like that right there, that some senior football player in a high school came up with on his own to connect with that kid. And then in the last day, he gave the kid the notebook, and I guarantee that kid has it to this day.
Oh, absolutely.
That's nice.
Powerful, right?
Yeah.
It's those little things that
Figuring out
change
how
that
to
kid's life.
connect.
And just keep
Connect.
trying. And the
Connections.
funny thing is, you're trying, and most times you're doing it, but you just don't get the response you think
Right.
you need.
We say that all the
makes
time.
my heart
Yeah.
feel good.
When we have children in our class and they're just starting out and they're watching and they're not participating, and it continues for a couple weeks, 3 weeks, and we call the parent and just say, just want to let you know this is what's happening. They're like, they're not participating. They come home and do the whole class. They're pretending they're the teacher, they're the mermaids, they're whatever.
They bring out their own little music box and pretend
and do it and teach their animal, their little fur babies or stuffed animals or whatever, and it's like we don't know sometimes that how we are affecting children, and they are learning and we don't even know sometimes. We're connecting and
We're doing
communicating.
it. We're doing it.
Yeah, I think I would venture to say that just based on my experience, visiting classrooms, and when a teacher will ask for feedback, which is really rare, and because here's the thing, I really think it's the same reason. Remember we talked about why? They're wise because they love the kids so much.
Yeah.
I think they're so terrified they're not doing a good job because they love their kids so much and they just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's so painful. I think that's what it is. But when those rare occasions I'm in a classroom and they want feedback, and I'm just so frustrated with my work with this, I'm like, you're doing it. That you're great. It's happening. I'm telling you. Like, I'm watching it happen. It is happening. And for some reason, I think it's just they want so much, or maybe they need some sort of feedback and affirmation or recognition from a second grader. But I'm telling you, man, it's happening. I can see it. I know, like, the physiology of a kid, that there's a connection, and the kid is getting the information. That kid's life is being changed every day that you stand before that kid. I promise you. But sometimes I think just because this is such an emotional job, and you're in the moment, it's hard,
That's great that you're out, that you can provide that, because I think a lot of people don't get that feedback. A principal's got how many teachers on staff, and it used to be, if you're getting a visit from the principal, it might not be the best.
So again, that's the shift that's happening. So a lot of assistant principals or some sort of classroom school administrator will visit and do the observation of a classroom. And in the old style, they really would talk about, well, here's how you did this, and the way you started class, and here you introduced a lesson, or it could be all positive, but still just talking about the teaching, where so many administrators are in classrooms doing observations. I love the way that this kid is doing this, and focusing on what's happening with the kids in response to the lesson, like looking at it from the point of view from a kid rather than a school administrator.
Nice.
Talking about the delivery, they're talking about how it's being received from the perspective of a child, and that changes everything.
More about the communication than the content.
And the result, for sure.
There's so much.
Well, let's tell about how everybody can come visit you.
Yeah, so here's what I do. Summer, we're doing summer right now, so there's some conferences happening. And in August, things get really, end of July, all the way through August, I'm on the road visiting schools and doing the whole back to school teacher, whether it's workshops and big back to school convocations where they invite every employee of the district. and I try to get to invite parents too. And
Oh.
and I do my thing, my Teaching a Rockstar event, and also in addition to that, we have Teaching a Rockstar events that I host at hotels around the country, and educators come to me for the districts all around. And then we also have my Be the One event for revolutionizing campus and classroom culture, where I go to schools and we will customize a day so I can work with kids and teachers and administrators in that 10-hour time slot, where we can completely shift the feel of that school family.
And they go to, what's your...
HalBowman.com, and is the website, and then everywhere on social media, on all the platforms, it's always at Hal Bowman, all one word.
Julia, can you put
Yep,
just
I've
Hal
got a
Bowman?
link. I've got a link to
Got
his
the
website
link there, yep.
in the comments, and it will be in the description soon.
Great.
Awesome.
And do you two want to talk about the resource page and what Arts Alive does?
Yes, but I also want to plug you just for another moment, because
Sure.
here at Arts Alive, all of my teachers, whenever they come on board, and Hal is here in Houston at doing one of his events, I always make sure everybody goes, because, and I've been 3 times, I think.
I've been twice.
Yep, and it's always amazing, and I learn something new every time, and it's one of my favorite days of the year when I can
Nice.
come to see
Yes.
you, even though I live 2 doors down from you.
Even though we're all in the same.
Even though I am the godmommy of his children.
A little plug for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Arts Alive, we have a new page up on our website, which is our resource page, where we have a link to this group. So we just found it was easier to tell people, go to our website, resource page, Facebook link. So if you know of anybody that, since this is airing in our community, airing live, invite them to join us. And we also have the link to our other classes on Thinkific, where for a small fee you can take classes that we've done in the past. Our YouTube is up there, which we're working on to make better and better all the time. And also a product that we have now called Teaching Out of the Box, where we have a book with a set of streamers that you can take. It's a way to take some creativity and movement into your classroom.
A simple way
Very simple
that
way to.
Anissa created.
It was so much fun. It's a great book to use, and we're actually going to videotape that and put it up on our YouTube channel soon. But thank you, everybody, for joining us for Leveraging the Power of Joy to Effectively Educate. I really do love that title, because it is powerful, and that's what we're here to, let everybody find their joy. If you have questions, comments, anything that you want to share, or, still looking to find anything about what we're talking about, hit us up on right here on the community, or email us. And
Let us know where you're from when you're
Yes, that's
making your
always fun.
comments. We'd love to hear that. Thank you for joining us. And
Shout out to Rebecca.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca Wiener.
We'll
Look
see
her
you
up.
next week, because she's coming to visit us.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.